Hello, my name is Darcy and I'm one of your friendly neighborhood teen/20-somethings librarians. Today I'm going to show you how to make a paper star wall hanging. Let's talk about what you'll need. If you picked up the kit, you should have a packet of about 100 paper strips in different colors, one strip that's already started folding, one dowel, a needle packet, and a little bundle of thread. You'll also need some scissors for this craft. And some super glue can be really helpful when you're stringing things together at the end, but it's not required. If you didn't get the kit, never fear. You can find all of these items at a craft or general store. So we'll be making a kind of beaded curtain style wall hanging from strings of paper stars. It's a fairly simple project, but making about 100 paper stars is going to take a while. So let's get started. In your kit, you should have one paper strip with a pentagon at the end and a short tail. This is an example of the first step in making a paper star. You can use this strip as a guiding point to make sure you're getting that first knot correct when you start your own folding. So to start folding a paper star, you're going to take one strip from your pile of strips. You're going to fold the top over like this and wrap under. So you're looking to make this shape. Now you're going to take the short tail that is under the long tail and wrap it up through your loop and pull gently. You don't want to create any creases in the paper that aren't intentional. So this is the start of your first knot. Let's keep pulling. And this is the trickiest part. I like to crimp down this bottom spot first and then pull my tails and kind of squish the top to get it as tight as a point as I can. Don't pull too hard. And then I crimp down and pull tight. And that is the start of your paper knot. So you'll notice, I guess I went backwards on these instead, but it is okay. It does not matter which direction your knot goes, you just need to follow the basic design. So once you have this set up, you're going to first take care of this short tail. So you're just gonna fold back. So you're gonna fold the short tail back into this tuck. Crimp it over right along that hard edge that this other piece of the paper creates. And so this one, when I crimp it, I can see that it will fit in my pentagon. So I'm going to tuck it in. And that is one of my tails gone. So now I just need to take care of this long tail. So this one wraps forward across the star. And if you keep it tight with this line on the back, it should line up with the other side basically perfectly. It depends. Some of these paper strips are not cut quite straight, but that's okay. So you're going to follow this tail all the way around your pentagon, folding it along the hard edges. All right, and so now I am at the end. I don't have any more tail to go, but this bit sticks out a little bit far from tucking in, so it won't tuck quite evenly. So I'm going to trim, that's what your scissors are for. I'm going to just snip off the end a little bit and then tuck that final tail into my pentagon. And now I have a perfectly folded little pentagon with all of my tails tucked in. So this is the hardest part of your star. You're almost there. Now you're going to pop it out. So it helps to have some fingernails for this, but you don't have to. You can use just kind of the pads of your fingers, but I like to hold it on one corner and then not the next side, but one side over. And you're going to crimp in and it's going to pop just a little bit. You'll see it's gotten a little bit of 3D there. And then you're going to go to the next set of two and crimp in. Kind of aim for the center if you've got fingernails. And then that last side. And then you just kind of go around straightening out your sides. And you have one tiny paper star. So it is very simple to do. It just takes a little bit of practice to get the folds quite right and make everything pop. I've made plenty of stars where I've gotten the little pentagon perfectly right, and then when I went to pop them out, it didn't crimp quite right. It just didn't pop out as it was supposed to. But that's okay. You're making a lot of paper stars. You're going to get better at it as you go. So now you only need to make 99 more of these tiny paper stars and you will be ready to rock. Okay, this is about 100 paper stars. It took me maybe 3 days of kind of idle folding when I was listening to something else, like an audiobook, to get all of these folded together. Don't try to do it all in one go. Your fingers will be super sore. So now that we have all of our stars, we're going to figure out how we want to string them together. So what I would recommend doing is grabbing your dowel and figuring out how many rows you want on there. So I probably want about 10 strings on here. So I'm gonna line those strings out and figure out exactly which stars I want on what strings. If I want my wall hanging to be square, if I want it to kind of be longer in the middle than on the sides, this is the time to figure that out. So I'm gonna arrange all my stars how I like them, and then we'll be ready to start stringing. Okay, now that I have my pattern laid out, I didn't give myself quite enough space for you to see all of it right now, but you will at the end. I'm gonna make sure my dowel is gonna fit across if I have that many rows. Perfect, so I actually went with 9 so that I can have a bit of a point in the middle because I think that's gonna look cool. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get my thread and my needle ready. So I'm gonna unroll my loop of thread and starting with the tail, kind of figure out how long I want this first string to be. So I don't want it to be super duper long. So I'm going to trim it to just a little bit longer than what I'm interested in it being, because you're going to have to tie it to the dowel at the end, and you might lose some of it when you're sewing. So you can open up your needle. Be careful, it is sharp. And thread your needle. And then you're going to need to tie some knots at the end of your thread. So once you've threaded your needle, you're going to decide which side you want to start on. I'm going to start on this row right here on the far side. And you're going to take the bottom star from that line. And you're going to want to decide which way you want up. So I like my points to be up. So I'm going to start from the bottom, the middle bottom. I'm going to push my needle in and then carefully run it up through the top. So you're threading your little star on there, pull it through, and then run it all the way down to where your knot is. And that is your first star threaded on your string. So before you go to the next star, you're going to want to tie at least one knot where you want the bottom of the next star to sit. So I think I'm going to go, sure, right there. Be careful not to pull your paper stars through. They'll definitely go over those little knots. And then you do the same with the second star in the row. You figure out which side you want to be up. Start from the bottom and go up through the point. Pull it through until it sits at the knot. So you're going to go ahead and do that for all of your little stars. It's going to take a while. Again, don't try and rush it. Just take your time. We'll come back here when we're all done. If you're having trouble keeping your stars on their little knots, this is where the super glue comes in. If you string a star, put a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of super glue on the knot right below it, and then gently set that star on that knot, it will stay exactly where you want it to be. Just don't use a lot of super glue and be careful not to glue your fingers together. So this is that first string stitched for me, all strung together. I'm gonna snip my thread, not gonna tie it off yet, or tie it to the dowel or anything. We're gonna go ahead and finish doing all of our strings, and we'll come back here when all of our long threads are ready to hang on our dowel. See you in a minute. Okay, so this is all of my stars strung up and ready to hang. Now I am going to go ahead and start with the middle string since it is the longest, and I want to make sure it's placed correctly. So I'm going to grab my dowel, whoops, disentangle all my strings. I'm just going to guesstimate where the middle is, and I'm going to take that tail of the longest string, and I am going to tie it around the middle of my dowel. And that is my first string hung. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with all the rest of my strands, and we're going to see where we end up. Okay, now that everybody's strung, let's see what it looks like. All right, it turned out okay. It's looking a bit of a mess though. So now that everyone's tied on, we like where everything is, we're gonna go ahead and trim the tails. So you're gonna trim the tails off the top and off the bottom if you like. You might like the way those look, but I'm gonna go ahead and trim all of them. So now the last thing you need to do is put on your hanging threads. So I left a little bit on the ends of each dowel open. You can use thread, the rest of your thread for this, or if you like, if you have some nice ribbon at home or something else you'd like to hang it from, or if you'd rather hang it with two pegs, you don't even need a thread to hang it. But for this, just to show you an option, I'm going to get a good little bit of thread, and I'm actually going to double it up and kind of twist it together so that it makes a little bit thicker of a string. Gonna snip that, and then I'm going to knot each end, and then I'm just going to tie each end around an end of the dowel, and then we'll be able to hang from the middle. There we go. Oop, I lost one of my strings, but we'll go ahead and hang it up again, and I will show you the finished project. And that's how you make a folded star wall hanging. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.